There, so glad you are here, and I am re-recording parts of this series because I sat down in my classroom for the last couple weeks preparing for students to come next week, and I was trying to get my digital circle time up and running and figure out how we were going to use it for our grade level this year, and realized when I was using my checklist that some of the steps don't need to happen anymore, which is nice because that means less time that I'm spending preparing behind the scenes and more time I get to actually spend with students and my family. And then I also realized some of the steps don't matter because of the different changes FlipGrid has. So after I made that checklist, one of my first products on Teacher Pay Teachers, I realized, oh man, FlipGrid 2 days later updated all their new features. And so here we are. So you're still going to go into FlipGrid and create an educator account. It's still free. At the top, these tabs have changed a little bit, and now everything that you're going to have students respond to is under discussion. And then instead of a grid, which is still, I think of it like a website that's your home base for students, they're called groups. So I am going to create a group just for this coming fall, and it's just going to be for circle time. So now within this group, the biggest settings that you will want to make sure you have is your code. You'll either want to make it something easy for students to remember if it's available, or you'll just want to post this code in your learning management system because this is what students will be accessing every single time. You'll also decide how do you want them to log in. I would suggest if it's with students, it's private. And do you want them to use their email or some kind of username that you get to create? With my older students, we use our email for everything anyway. But when I taught second grade, I had, their name here, and then their username was just first initial, last initial, and they were really honest and it worked for us. And then if something happens where students can't respond, just make sure that you have this active, and then you will add whatever kind of image you would like. So the group settings are pretty basic. Here's what is a little different. Before, I used to have a topic for circle time, but now your topics is going to be a question for every single day. So I don't know how many topics FlipGrid allows. I haven't read that far, but I'm hoping a lot because I plan to have a topic for every single day. And to make the topic, those settings that you're going to want to look at is your title. If you're doing it like I am, which was thinking what would be easiest for students to see, is just going to be by date. It's also easier for me to upload everything. Set your expectations or whatever you want the students to read. Set your time limit. Mine 30 seconds is what I'm going to keep. You can leave this off. You don't want to video moderate because that just means you're going to have to go in constantly and approve videos for students to be able to see them, and then it won't really feel like circles. So I'm now turning that off. I don't need it. In the next videos, I'm going to show you how to create and export this video file that you're going to have, and it's going to have the question being read aloud by you, the teacher, your video response. So students, after they hear the question, they see you respond so that it still feels like circle. And then it's going to have my picture of our circle time rules and some kind of reminder if it's applicable. So keep watching this series to see how I got that. And then you can skip everything else until you get to status. You can choose, do you want it active right away? Or in my case, since I'm scheduling everything up to a week in advance, I'm going to choose what's the day I want it to go live, and it will start at 12:01 a.m. that day. And then when do I want it to freeze? And it'll freeze by 11:59 p.m. on whatever date I select. So I'm doing one topic per day. So I want it to go live at 12:01 a.m. And then on the same day, I want it to freeze so that students can still watch, but they can't necessarily respond. And that is super nice because the other hack that I had found, students could still answer stuff. I don't want notifications. The reason you don't see me on social media a lot is I do try to help and talk to people kind of behind the scenes, but I just don't like putting our family out there on social media. I'm still leery of it. So I try to do the same thing for students. I try to protect their privacy as much as possible. I also Now you don't have to have them respond to each other. You can turn that off. I still only allow one sticker on the selfie only because when I use this for science, I find that they'll spend 30 minutes editing their video, because if they can see how many people are going to like it or view it, they spend all that time and become so consumed. And then I get 30 seconds or less of science. And I'm just thinking about their mental health. They need to disconnect for a little bit, in my opinion. And I talk to their parents about that on how I do stuff in my classroom. So I turn all of that stuff off. I don't really use the feedback. The really cool thing is, because now I've done all my settings for this one topic and I know I'm going to have to create a new one every single day, I don't have to do all the settings again, because FlipGrid has a feature where I can just go in and click actions and duplicate this topic, and every single thing will be the exact same in the duplicate, except it's not going to have all the student responses. So it'll wipe that clean. And then all I will have to do is go in and change my title, change the video so that it's the right day of the question, and then change the date that I want it. So you'll notice this one is set for the next day. So continue to watch this series to see how I did this, but you'll also want to make sure on your computer that you have your folders ready to go so that you can keep yourself organized. You'll want somewhere to upload things, so you know you need to upload them, somewhere to put your video responses, because that's still important, somewhere to put things that you've already uploaded and that are done just in case you have to access them, somewhere to have your templates where you're going to type your questions. And I have some new ones up in our store that are inspired by colors from nature and places that we've been. And then any kind of troubleshooting stuff you might need. And then if you do need some kind of picture at all, you can add that in there. But with the new way FlipGrid's working, I don't need to upload a selfie anymore. So that's kind of nice. The last thing that I used is a Google form, and this is where I collected all the responses, all the questions from students that I used to create all of my digital circle time videos. I hope this is helpful, and I hope this helps you build community in your classroom.